tragic death of former Miss PNG. Forest stakeholders trained in resource management. And Ning wins top snooker awards.
This is National EMTV News with Meriba Tulo.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us for Sunday's news. A former Miss Papua New Guinea has fallen victim to gender-based violence. The Miss South Pacific pageant Papua New Guinea released a statement today confirming Ruby Ann Laufer's death as a result of gender-based violence. The late Ruby Ann was Miss Papua New Guinea from 2012 to 2013. At the time, she was a law student and since then launched her own modeling agency and has been an advocate of gender-based violence. Condolence messages for Ruby Ann on social media called for more action to end violence against women in the country. In an effort to better manage forest resources in the country, the United Nations Forest Forum conducted a workshop on project design for sustainable forest management for stakeholders in Port Moresby. Dr. Ruth Turia, PNG FA Director for Policy and Planning, says that the workshop was the first of its kind and PNG FA officers received well-needed training.
Benjamin Singer, the United Nations Forest Forum officer who facilitated the workshop, said part of the training was for officers to learn how to write project proposals that can be submitted to donor partners for funding.
The negotiations, the agreements that the countries have reached within the United Nations Forum on Forests. One of the agreements was to set up a process to support countries in mobilizing financing for sustainable forest management.
PNG FA officers were not the only ones who attended the training. Officers from Conservation and Environment Protection Authority and Climate Change Development Authority attended also. At the end of the workshop, participants received certificates.
To write project proposals, how to write a project proposal for international donors so that then international donors could provide grants for sustainable forest management in the country.
Dr. Ruth Turia added that all PNG FA officers were unable to attend due to high cost, but those who did receive training will return to the regions and disseminate the training to other officers.
My division were involved in project proposals and managing projects, donor-funded projects. So the workshop this week was to teach other PNG FA officers to identify and submit proposals. So that's basically what we're doing. And I think from the closing workshop today, many of them had indicated that they learned a lot and they will go back and apply that in their own workplace.
Adelaide Rock's Kari, National EMTV News.
The Prime Minister of Singapore, Lee Hsien Loong, has confirmed he will be attending the APEC 2018 Leaders Summit in Port Moresby. He confirmed his attendance at a meeting with Foreign Affairs Minister Rimbing Pato in Singapore recently. Pato said PNG and Singapore have a very strong relationship that continues to grow, and a significant amount of APEC travellers will come from Singapore to Port Moresby. Minister Pato was in Singapore at a high-level study visit for Pacific Island states and Timor-Leste. A young Papua New Guinean is determined to preserve a part of PNG culture through theatre. 16-year-old Andrew Kuliniasi has written a play based on a part of Misima history. He said he hopes this will encourage others to capture Papua New Guinea's rich cultural heritage in other art forms.
Andrew will be staging his play at the Moresby Arts Theatre. This will be the second time this 16-year-old will be directing a play here, but it will be his first to direct a play he has written himself.
Cannibalism, witchcraft, and interfamilial marriage, that's just, they're taboos now, you don't speak of them, but they happened back then.
When we caught up with him yesterday, it was the first day of rehearsals for his play. It's a play based on the life of the matriarch of a clan on Misima Island in Milne Bay Province.
With this lady, right, Sinekepu, she had to go through so many things. She had to go through her children dying. She had to go through the struggles of being 14 and carrying the burden of being the matriarch, the leader of the clan.
Even though he grew up in Port Moresby, miles and worlds away from Misima Island, the story he heard about Sine Kepu of the Mesoga clan has stayed with him.
It makes you appreciate what these people did, because it was really about survival that time and how they went through life day by day, having to make choices that ultimately ended up in me being here.
The play will start showing on March 16th and will go for 2 weeks. Andrew hopes this play will inspire others to also appreciate and find ways to preserve PNG's cultural heritage.
If we don't understand them, or if we don't preserve them and keep them, then they die out. And that's scary, because then there won't be anything unique about us. There won't be anything worth showing.
Sarah Aupong, National EMTV News.
PMV operators in Port Moresby say the high cost of maintaining their buses is a direct result of deteriorating sections of the roads along their route. Bus 16 operators raised this concern after they saw an increase in the cost of maintaining their buses in the last 2 years.
Route 16 is one of the routes for PMVs in the National Capital District. It is in the Moresby Northeast electorate. The route starts at the Gorens bus stop to Erima, passes 8 and 9 miles, and then Bomana. This road leads to 3 important government institutions. They are the Police Training College, the Correctional Services Training College, and the Bomana Prison. Over the last 4 years, PMV operators say there has been very little road maintenance done on this road. Jethro David is a Route 16 bus driver. He says in a month he spends up to 1,000 kina to repair tires and shock absorbers or shockies.
Long time, some years or same. Road time, I'm stop long, I'm stop it. There's no what on even government to come, one man, come straight team. So, can't have one company watching Bakara. Even come close to law, run a quarry, Abrus run a quarry, come down lap to him, and Bakara Bogota. So, what the same Tintin was a number, was a Tintin Mika loan. So, in a one black man, you can come no and fix him la road.
The cost of maintaining a PMV bus in Port Moresby is estimated to reach 10,000 kina in a year. However, Bus 16 operators say they spend up to 15,000 kina because of the deteriorating road conditions. These are some sections of the deteriorating road conditions. This footage shows huge craters which are about 10 inches deep.
So thinking so what wala something about giving them people okay or one road service and one people something like in bus and driver and through and was acting time tire.
Because of these high maintenance costs, PMV operators are now charging an extra 1 kina on every passenger that travels from Gordons to Bomana. Passengers are now paying 2 kina instead of the 1 kina bus fee that is approved by authorities. Thakla Gunga, National EMTV News.
National EMTV News continues after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back to the news. Truave MP Wera Mori has been released on 500 kina police bail. The Truave MP was apprehended by Port Moresby Police for official corruption-related charges. Mr. Mori was questioned at the Internal Investigation Unit late yesterday evening and was formally charged. He is expected to appear before the Waigani Committal Court for mention this week. EMTV News spoke to Mr. Mori this afternoon. The member said the arrest is a malicious plot orchestrated by a particular policeman closely acquainted to a former politician. He said the arrest was deliberately executed to discredit him on the eve of the upcoming elections. A decision on Longman Sawari's bail application will be handed down this Tuesday. Sawari, the Iranian asylum seeker charged for falsifying information, is being detained at the Bomana prison outside Port Moresby. Meanwhile, Amnesty International is calling for all charges against Sawari to be dropped, saying PNG authorities are breaching their obligations to uphold the Refugee Convention.
The 21-year-old accused was transported to the Bomana prison after he appeared before the Boroko District Court last Friday. Sawari has been in police custody since the 27th of January. Since last Monday, Sawari and his lawyer were asking for bail before the Boroko District Court. Their application for bail was adjourned 3 times. First, because of the incorrect information written on the information sheet that was presented to the Boroko District Court, and later because the police prosecution told the courts they needed more time to object the bail application. Police alleged that Sawari used false information in July 2016 and obtained travel documents. He flew to Fiji in January this year using those travel documents, but was deported to Papua New Guinea on January 27th. Sawari is now detained at the Bomana prison, awaiting the decision on his bail application. Thaklagunga, National EMTV News.
Turning overseas, whale rescuers in New Zealand linked arms in neck-deep water on Saturday in an attempt to prevent about 200 pilot whales from stranding themselves again on a remote bay where 300 of them died this week. The Golden Bay beaching at the northwest tip of the South Island was New Zealand's largest known whale stranding since 1985, when 450 of the animals were stranded in Auckland, and the third largest on record.
Conservation officials in a statement said a group of about 100 volunteers, supported by their 3 boats, successfully turned the whales away from the shore by blocking their path. According to local broadcaster TV New Zealand, 20 whales that were stranded had to be euthanized to stop the remaining pod at sea coming back to shore. TV New Zealand reported on Sunday 17 more whales had beached themselves but were successfully refloated. Since a conservation worker spotted the whales washed ashore on Thursday evening, rescuers have spent 2 days pouring water over the beached whales to try and keep them cool while waiting to catch high tides to carry them out to sea again. Though beach whales are not uncommon at Golden Bay, the precise cause was unknown. Project Jonas says Golden Bay's murky low-lying waters can sometimes confuse the marine mammal's sonar, leaving them vulnerable to stranding when the tide recedes. Pilot whales are not listed as endangered, but little is known about their population in New Zealand waters. Melissa Goviro, EMTV World News.
Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe held a joint news conference on Saturday with US President Donald Trump in Florida. He slammed North Korea's latest test launch of a ballistic missile, saying it was absolutely unacceptable. South Korea's military said North Korea fired a ballistic missile into the sea off its east coast.
That missile traveled some 500 kilometers. That's represented by line 1 on this map. It landed in the Sea of Japan, also known as the East Sea. The launch came as Mr. Trump hosted Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe in Florida. After being briefed on the missile test, Mr. Trump and Mr. Abe, side by side, issued these statements.
North Korea's most recent missile launch is absolutely intolerable. North Korea must fully comply with the relevant UN Security Council resolutions. During the summit meeting that I had with President Trump, he assured me that the United States will always with Japan 100%. And to demonstrate his determination as well as commitment, he is now here with me at this joint press conference.
Thank you very much, Mr. Prime Minister. I just want everybody to understand and fully know that the United States of America stands behind Japan, its great ally, 100%.
You're watching National EMTV News. Trukai Sports is next. We'll have all the details when we return.
True Kai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. Marcus Ning stole the limelight at the 2016 PNG Billiards and Snooker Presentation Night, winning the Player of the Year award, with Gewa John topping the women's category. This win for Ning is the second consecutive for this top award.
The Papua New Guinean Port Moresby Billiards Snooker Association hosted the 2016 trophy presentation last night at the Lamana Gold Club. The night began with presentation of individual awards in their respective categories or divisions, then followed by group performance. The top shooters in B-grade division,
Best player in B-grade. These are our girl top shooters, premiers of B-grade.
best players in A-grade division and minor premiers.
Swathen Guy and Helen Samuel. Best player in Premier Grade last year goes to Yanis Nicolau.
Young Vare Vareke collected 3 individual awards in different categories before picking up the Most Improved Player of the Year. Richard Varia won the POM Handicap titles, but the night was dominated by Marcus Ning. Gewa John took out POM Women's title with Helen Samuel as runner-up.
So you take up the runner-up.
The media was also acknowledged for their support in promoting snooker in the country and abroad.
Just a great Shane. Shane from MTV.
Shane Soroya, National MTV Sports.
The whole off-season competition completed round 8 of their matches today. With only 2 weeks away from elimination, the competition has reached its momentum. MTV Sports covered the match between the Malipni brothers and the Boroko Bulldogs this afternoon.
The match started on a slow note until the opener try came from Boroko Bulldogs in the 16th minute, and the conversion went unsuccessful. It was a tight tussle, and both teams' attempts at scoring in the second quarter were disabled as drop balls were consistent on both sides. By halftime, Boroko Bulldogs were at 4 points while Malipini brothers lurked behind with nothing to the name. The second half was quicker, but most of the ball possession was in the Bulldogs' hands, though attempts to score were always barricaded by the brothers' back row. And just before full-time, a miscalculated pass from the brothers resulted in a runaway try from the Bulldogs again. The conversion was unsuccessful this time as well. And at full-time, Boroko Bulldogs won with 8 points to Malipini brothers nil. Dinrose Raiko, National MTV Sports.
And that ends Trukai Sports. Up next, your weather details for the next 24 hours.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
The weather details are proudly brought to you by Dulux Weather Shield. Worth doing with Dulux.
Here's a look at the weather forecast for the next 24 hours in the southern region. Port Moresby, Daru, Kerma, Alotau and Popondetta. All these major centers can expect a shower or two. To the Momasa region, the same as well. Lae, Wau, Medang, Wibek and Vanimo, a shower or two over the next 24 hours. To the New Guinea Islands region, mostly fine in Lorangau and Kavieng, Kokopo and Rabaul as well, mostly fine, and mostly fine for Kimbe and Buka. And in the Highlands region, Mount Hagen, Goroka, Kundiawa, Mendi and Wabeg, all the major centers can expect some showers with morning fog.
The weather details are proudly brought to you by Dulux Weather Shield. Worth doing with Dulux.
And that's the way it is this Sunday, the 12th of February 2017. From the MTV News team, pleasant viewing. Have a safe working week. Good night.